Greetings and salutations, everybody. I'm back. I know it's been a while since I posted anything, but what are you going to do? It was February and not a whole lot was happening. But here we are in March, and it's time to get back to doing what I do best, criticizing video games. My name is MiAh the King, and today we are taking a look at a beautiful little game that came out yesterday. This game is called Weakless, and from what I can tell, you play as, well, tree people. This game is an atmospheric adventure puzzle solver game with a unique twist. Playing as this weird tree thing. I have no idea what you actually are. A nymph? A sprite? Pixie maybe? I have no clue. But, I mean, I think those are some pretty good guesses though, right? Well, it doesn't matter. If you are interested in this game, then this first impressions review video is here to help you decide whether or not this game is worth your time and money. If you weren't interested in this game, but you pay attention to my channel and you're a little curious about what I'm, putting up right now, then please sit back, relax, and enjoy while I talk a little bit about it. But for those of you who do not know what a first impressions review is, allow me to explain. Oh wait, hang on. Before we do that, please make sure you hit that like button, that subscribe button, and leave me a little comment. There, got that out of the way. Now, a first impressions review is not quite a review and not quite a first impressions. It's a weird amalgamation of both. First impressions can last, normally the norm is from 10 minutes to 30 minutes, the first 10 to 30 minutes of gameplay, and a review pretty much requires you to complete the game. I mean, otherwise you couldn't possibly review it accurately. I play a game between 1 hour and 2 hours, so that a refund on Steam is still available. This is to help me and you save money. As far as I'm concerned, if a game cannot hold your attention or cause you to want to keep playing past the 2 hour mark, then it simply isn't worth the money. No game should take 6 hours to turn fun. Sorry, but that's the truth. Okay then, Weakless, where you play as a tree person. I kind of figured this game was going to be atmospheric and possibly a puzzle solver, and I was correct. Now, normally, I don't really go for these kind of games, but I have played a few of these in the past that completely blew my mind, and I was hoping for a similar experience here. Unfortunately, I didn't really get that. But before we go too deep, let's explain things a bit here first. So, you play as a tree man, and you keep hearing me say that. That's because I don't know what else to call what you are playing as in this freaking thing. But not just as one tree man, you play as two, part of a duo. However, here's the twist. One of these tree men is blind, and the other is deaf. One is small, weak, but fast. The other is tall and strong, but slow. One paints and or draws, and the other one plays musical instruments. Now, can you tell which? The obvious answer might be the right one. So, you have to navigate throughout this forest of puzzles, using one to do this that he specializes in, and the other for those that he specializes in. And as you progress, things take a sudden turn for the worst, I think. And then you have to navigate through this forest some more, but now it's not so happy and go lucky as this black ooze just happens to be scattered about everywhere. Now, I only played this game for a little over an hour, but from what I've read online and other reviews, the full gameplay running time is somewhere between 2 hours and 4 hours, depending on how quickly you solve the puzzles and how much you play. So, as we always do, let's go over the good and the bad, followed by my overall thoughts and my epic conclusion. For the good, the game is pretty good to look at. It's comforting and it's nice, colored pretty well, very diverse in a lot of ways, and overall the graphics are they're pretty good. The sounds and the music, both very magical. They feel like they fit. It really, goes along perfectly with the art style they chose to use here. However, I will say that the longer I played, the more the music began to hurt my ears. Now, I'm not quite sure why, as it was nice to listen to, but still, it was odd. Oh, and sometimes the music when you play as the deaf treeman would just kind of repeat, which gets pretty annoying pretty fast. And then the puzzles. They're interesting, challenging, but not hard, if that makes any sense. They'll take you a moment to figure out, and then a bit of guessing, but in the time I played, I never found one that was impossible and made me rage quit. So there's that. But that might only be considered a good thing to people like me who aren't too good with puzzles, so that one's kind of a 50-50. Now for the bad. And unfortunately, I have more bad than good. There are glitches and bugs in this game Now, it did just release, but I judge these things based on when they're released, not on what they could eventually be down the road, so bear with me on this one. I constantly found myself stuck or just hanging off of edges, standing in midair. I was getting stuck on a lot of edges and between cracks. There were several instances where I was going like towards this one thing and then suddenly I was just thrust back like 10 feet. When you're in the middle of the woods, there's tons of places where you can get stuck, and this game was pretty bad at handling all those situations. I mean, none of these particular things were game-breaking, but boy, that was annoying. Having to switch between these two tree guys. Now, this is a pretty fun aspect, I suppose, but it has been done half a dozen times before in other games, and there's nothing really new here to make it fun or enjoyable. And with them both having something missing, it's an assault on the senses. Playing as the blind guy, you can barely see anything, obviously, but he moves so slow, and he's so essential for some pretty big things in the game. He's slow, he's awkward, and except for those few times when he is essential, you don't even really play him or remember that he's there. Not only that, but when you do play as him, you can't really observe and enjoy the beautiful scenery. So then you switch to the small deaf one. Now he's faster, and that's why he'll be the one you're going to be playing with for the majority of the game, but he can't hear. So while you can see the beauty of this forest, you can't hear shit. All you hear is the same repeating music. It's odd to play. One moment you're blind, the next moment you're deaf, switching back and forth. It's not going for the cohesion I think they were trying to display here. Like, I get what they were going for, but it just doesn't work very well. Not for this environment, not for this style. When you're playing as the blind tree, and you're trying to help the deaf tree, you get stuck on everything, 'cause you can't see shit, and this is a forest with vines and shit scattered about. Overall, it was an interesting concept, but I don't think it was done as good as it could have been done here. Maybe if the game gets some more polish, so you don't get stuck on everything, so you don't jump around everywhere, it'd work a little bit better. Or, maybe give the blind guy, sorry, he's not a guy, maybe give the blind tree some more things to do, I don't know. The story, it lacks cohesion. It's very bland and confusing. You're forced to make up your own understanding based on a really simple, crappy pictures drawn by these tree guys. I mean, even after an hour of playing, I still had no idea what I was doing or why. I was on some kind of journey to that big tree over there. Why that one? I don't know. 'Cause it's big? Probably. What's that ooze? Is it tree goop? Is it tree poop? I don't know. How can a tree be blind or deaf? Once again, I don't know. So many questions, so little answers. Then you've got the puzzles. Now, the reason why this is in the bad as well as in the good, I will explain now. It's nice that they're not too difficult for people like me, but a lot of people might see this as being a bad thing. I mean, it's an atmospheric puzzle game, therefore you need to do two things great above all else: atmosphere and puzzles. That should be obvious. But the puzzles are so easy, even I could solve them, and if you've watched any of my earlier stuff involving puzzles, you know that I'm not much of a puzzle guy. And last but not least, there's very little for you to do, really. You can almost call this a walking simulator, to be honest. You spend most of your time doing just that, walking around. Push this button or stand there, then keep walking. Every now and then you come to a puzzle and you have to push this, pull this, or tap this, and then you continue walking. I mean, when your atmosphere starts to become bland, since it's just more of the same over and over, then you've got the repetitive music as well, followed by basically the same puzzles over and over again. And that's not an exaggeration. That's not an insult. Like, literally, you have like the same basic puzzles over and over again. Like, you ever played those games where I don't know. I mean, Zelda probably did this a few times, but you know those games where like you have to hit this block or this stone or this marking and it makes a sound, and then you got another one that makes a sound, and then you got another one that makes a sound, and you got to find out what the combination is of sounds to get the door to unlock. That game, this game has that puzzle in here like 36 times. It's ridiculous. It's the same freaking thing over and over again. Choose which sounds, find the freaking order they go in, unlock door, unlock elevator, unlock bridge. It's the same freaking thing over and over again. And when you find yourself doing all these things over and over again, the same basic level design over and over again, the same basic puzzles, the same music, all of it over and over again, you find yourself pretty much bored, and that whole atmospheric feeling that they were going for is just gone. I mean, that pretty much sums up the game, I guess. That's pretty much my final thoughts, but I'll go, whatever. My final thoughts and overall conclusion, let's go on with this anyway. I mean, I don't have to rate this game, since it's not a deep dive review, but if I had to give it a rating right now, I'd probably rate this at a 4, maybe a 5, but even a 5 is just average and kind of pushing it. I'm leaning more towards being a 4 because of its length and its lack of, well, everything that it's supposed to be. Atmosphere and puzzles. But since the atmosphere and the puzzles feel half-assed, then yeah, you kind of land yourself at slightly below average. And, I mean, the game's story is bland, it's confusing, lacking any kind of comprehensible cohesion. The gameplay is boring, bland, and repetitive. The artwork, however, is beautiful. The music and sounds are beautiful. The length is a bit short, but that's not too bad since they're only asking for like $12. The puzzles are too easy, and the lack of interactivity in anything but the puzzles themselves. That's the gist of it. Overall, I think if the developers could get someone to write them some interesting, deep storyline, some idea, some thought that's better than this, and then use their skills with music and art, they could create an actually really good, magical, atmospheric game. But we need a bit more than just, hey, walk here. Oh no, tree poop. Then you walk around the forest trying to get to the biggest tree in the center there just because reasons. I mean, honestly, I have absolutely no idea what was going on. I never once did, ever. You know what? That's not true. There was one point where I kind of had an idea of what was going on. I was controlling my 2 trees. They walked inside a bigger tree, granddaddy tree, and this other tree guy, looks like a shaman, starts dancing the hula hula dance. And then all of a sudden, a bunch of orange liquid starts falling down behind him into like a waterfall, I don't know, sap maybe, or amber, I don't know, and he's dancing, and everyone's playing music, and everything's going great, and then all of a sudden this amber sap shit that's fallen from the middle of the tree behind this dancing tree shaman turns black and ooze, and all of a sudden all the other tree fuckers start getting really, freaking out because their amber sap piss colored waterfall, whatever it is, turned black. So now all of a sudden shit goes crazy and they all start freaking out. Then the inside of the tree starts breaking down, and somehow the blind man saw what was happening to the deaf one before the deaf one saw it, and he saved him from whatever was happening, and they fell down, and now they're walking around the forest. All I knew was that I was controlling 2 trees, one blind, one deaf, and they were on a journey to a different tree. That's all I know. And quite frankly, that aspect is boring. Now, I mean no offense to anyone, and I'm sorry about being so harsh, but I try to stay brutally honest here. And honestly, this game just bored the crap out of me. I was literally counting down the minutes until I was done with my gameplay time, because I try to maintain a certain time frame unless a game drives me absolutely bonkers and I have to leave. But I try to stay within a certain time frame, and I was pushing myself through this one to get through it, and I was counting down those minutes until I could stop playing because I was just so bored. I have so many better things I could be doing and playing, so I was like, I'm done with it. Once I reached my limit, I was done. Now, I know that I normally don't go for these kind of games, but when I have played these types of games in the past, good ones, I loved them. I remember playing one that only lasted me 2 hours. It took me on an incredible journey. I had nothing bad to say about that game other than the fact that I wanted it to keep going. But this one is just boring. Even the visuals aren't good enough. The atmospheric feeling you're hoping to get, it's not gonna be there. You're not gonna get it. The puzzles, you will get no satisfaction from solving them. So ask yourself, do you want to spend $12 on an atmospheric puzzle game that doesn't have good atmosphere and doesn't have good puzzles? So, that's all I got to say for this episode, everybody. Please leave me a comment down below and let me know what you guys think, because I love hearing from you guys, good or bad. I hope I helped some of you guys figure out if this game is for you or not. I hope I helped entertain those of you who just didn't care and were interested about my video, period. And I hope to see all of you on my next adventure. So until then, I bid you farewell.